welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hello, everyone. So on this week's podcast, I spoke to Blake Williams, who is the founder and CEO of a company called Ampfactor. Blake has a lot of experience in the partnership space. He also works quite closely with the partnership leaders team as well, who we've also spoken to on a previous podcast. So you can check that out if you're interested. So Ampfactor, they work in the partner marketing space, which seems to be quite a growing sector across the globe. And Blake talks about how he is educating other businesses, how he can best help them, to grow together. As a partnership. We discuss what exactly goes into making partnerships really work for both parties involved. Also know how they're using their ABM campaigns to help drive the introductions, especially with B2B and SaaS companies. And also he gives some top tips on how to build and nurture high-performing teams. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode. Okay, everyone, welcome to Game Set Match Up. This is a podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. Maybe you're new to the partnerships world, looking for a bit of advice on how to get started, or you could be an experienced pro and just looking for a bit of inspirational direction, whichever one it is. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host today, Carl Busby. Please welcome our guest today, Blake Williams, the founder and CEO from a company called Ampfactor. Hello and welcome, Blake.
Hey, Carl. Thanks for having me on, man.
You're so welcome. Look, we'll just start off as we usually do, just a bit of a introduction to yourself. So if you could tell our listeners just a little bit more, about obviously, a bit who you are, get a bit about your background, what your current role is, within Ampfactor, what's Ampfactor all about?
Yeah. My background, spent some time in the military, and then got out, got a few degrees. I got an MBA and a master's degree in data science and stuff like that. And I was a part of a couple big companies, but part of an AI consultancy that we were able to sell off, and then had a short stint at a venture capital fund, just long enough to know that, not that they weren't my kind of folks, but I'd rather be in an operator role. And so I created Ampfactor, and Ampfactor is an account-based marketing agency that focuses on telling better together stories between partnerships, but in a way that productizes them. And in my mind, it's vastly different than most of the channel operations that happen today.
Okay, I've got that. Yeah. And how long has the business been going?
Not long, man. We're in 34 months now, and it's not bad. We're at about $7 million total over those 3 years. So we're cranking along and growing. So a decent spurt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sounds like things are going very well. Long may it continue.
Yes.
Definitely. That's amazing. Another question I'd just like to ask as well. I mean, obviously you talked a little bit about background there. You obviously spent some time in the military and you worked your sort of way through things. Obviously what you're doing, what you're working today, is this something you kind of, wanted to maybe sort of get, you would have this idea in terms of like building this sort of business, or was this something that, I don't know, you just,
where did it come from?
Exactly. Like, how is it how are you sort of come to be at this point today?
Yeah. So I was leading, innovation teams to think about how to create portfolios of 8-figure startups, right, at bigger companies. And these bigger companies are spending like $500 million on innovation. And in that process, we had to help them acquire their Alpha, Beta, Delta customer across different innovation hubs globally, right? Might be in Germany, might be in Rochester, New York, and then out in Palo Alto, California, right? And that is a specific use case that I was over, but we were spending $500 million. And it was kind of a cluster to go out and take these things to market. Yeah, especially across 28 new ideas about what a company might look like. Yeah. And I said, if these big companies are having this problem, then all the smaller funded companies must be having this issue. So I focused on ABM. And then the biggest opportunity that I looked for was where is the largest source of revenue coming from? And the first couple companies that I went to happened to be billion-dollar companies, and the channel was 60% of their revenue. So my first customers were enterprise level, and they just threw us into partnerships. And I kind of realized, I was like, wow, we're doing innovation here, or could be, or should be.
Yeah. Wow. Like I said, yeah, that's just incredible. I just love, obviously the numbers, obviously, obviously thrown around there. Just it is incredible. Like I said, the amount, obviously, money that's available, this sort of stuff. Yes. Like I said, yeah, no, it's great. Okay, so yeah, just obviously, obviously, we're all about sort of partnerships. So we really like to, just get a little bit of an insight, into your experiences, whether it might be Ampfactor or it could be anything in previous business, previous roles. It could be even be in the military. But how have you sort of seen, you're doing obviously with Ampfactor and the approaches in terms of like creating, sort of partnerships, and then like for you at Ampfactor, what would you class as like a gold star partnership, something that works for both you obviously and the client?
Yeah. I think there's these like Goldilocks partnerships, right? And I call it Goldilocks because almost everything's perfect about it, right? It's not one company's not too big, one's not too small. They're kind of they're the right size, equally can influence pipeline for each other, right? They both have a really, really good demand gen multiplier going on. Like those types of partnerships, they're not few and far between. I feel like a lot of partnerships don't get enough focus to get them there because it's not going to just spontaneously occur out of the ether, right? It's going to be work, right? That brings that about. So I think some of the partnerships that I see, and Justin Zimmerman always talks about integrations don't equal partnerships, but there's a lot of opportunity. So if there is a bunch of, it's kind of bass backwards, right? If you think about, if you build all these integrations, then now, even though it was a heavy investment, it now becomes this new testing ground or at least a portfolio to say, wow, where is utilization going up? And should we be facilitating and having a conversation here about where to partner? So things like that. And don't let me just run. You can jump in here.
No, that's fine. I was going to say that makes a lot of sense. I was just going to say the term Goldilocks, is that like I haven't heard that term before. Is that just something you made up?
No, it's not. I wish I could. It's I have used it multiple times in many businesses that I've been in. But it's like this when we talk about Earth and finding another suitable planet, they call that a Goldilocks planet.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it's perfect for the circumstances, whatever that might be. So
nice.
For us,
Okay, no, that's perfect. I've learned something new. That's a new term I learned today. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, so just another thing. So looking, obviously, again, talking about sort of partnerships and at Finder, we're all about trying to help businesses come together, and see what sort of synergies and stuff that they may have together in terms of potentially, creating a partnership, that kind of stuff. So, and obviously, we're trying to do, this is something that's very, very new, but obviously for yourself, like how are you sort of going about creating those at the moment? So, the types of, I don't know if you have any particular tools that you're using or, do you have teams? How are you sort of like, getting that interest or, from,
I think it's maybe if there's such a thing as dark social where people talk about your brand without you knowing it and you can't track it. I think there's this just active social, right? Where I am actively going around and educating folks, both on LinkedIn, but in one-to-one conversations all the time about where we sit in the market, where we want to play, where we don't. And then I ask for feedback. Who do you know in the market that might be a great introduction for us to explore partnership? But it's not something I take lightly. I think I've only ever attempted to create for my own company, 5 partnerships, and 3 of them still exist, right? And I think my approach is a little bit different. What I like to do when I create partnerships is find out if there's gold in them hills first, right? So it's like, okay, are we selling to the right people? And am I selling to the right people for you, and vice versa? Okay, great. That sounds good and briefs well, but now let's map accounts, right? So reveal a crossbeam or partner tap, whatever you want to use. I don't care if it's an Excel spreadsheet, but we need to figure out if there's actual gold in those hills today, right? And what the value of that opportunity is, because if I can't bring anything to the table, I don't want to waste your time because that's a waste of my time, right? And being bootstrapped, we just can't do that kind of thing. We don't have enough time to entertain a bunch of non-fruit bearing partnerships.
Absolutely.
Right. And I try not to be that on anybody else's roster. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, no, obviously it makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, like with any sort of partnership, you want it to be something that said both parties are ultimately going to get something out. We say it all the time, kind of on this podcast. If it's one person that's gaining something and the other it's not, then it's not. It's not a partnership. It's just essentially providing a service, and that's it. But like I said, long term, really fruitful partnerships, if they're done correctly, I mean, they can be obviously, it can work well for both parties, and then obviously grow from there. I think
that's a big question. Like a lot of people are having, like I'm in partnership leaders, and there's a couple conversations going on, even just yesterday, about an anonymous partnership leader who had a question about how long it should take to monetize a partnership. Right. And what's weird is that I think there's a monolithic or a very linear way to creating a partnership that lends itself to taking 6 to 9 months. Right. But there's also this other faster way that I imagine that, because this is the point that I get brought in at. And for me, teams could either choose when they want to go to market, either later or earlier. I think that there's a very, very agile way that you could end up going to market where you could get to value within 6 months if your sales cycle is less than that. Right. But yeah, there's how you go to market. I think people are curious about how long it takes to get to value, and that's up for discussion, I think.
No, I think it's obviously, again, it's probably a question a lot of people want to maybe the question people don't want to ask in the beginning, but it's like ultimately you want to know, like I said, when is it, it's just going to get to that point. Obviously do start obviously monetizing it. So I just want to say as well, I obviously spoke to Chris. We did obviously a podcast a couple of days ago from Chris from Partnership Leaders. So it was a really, really good conversation as well. We talked about stuff like that as well.
Very good.
So just again, something we do, we love to get the insight on. Obviously, you look quite young to me, but in terms of terms of like some advice that you would potentially give to your sort of younger self, if you were starting out earlier age, is there any sort of like tips or any things that you'd say would be like key things that you would, like I said, just tell yourself essentially, to give you sort of that
just in business,
or within the partnership space?
Well, I mean, I've gotten the learning curve. If you've never been through a partnership, creating a partnership process, and truly understanding or being escorted by a veteran about, understanding the importance of how they make money, right? Understanding that at a unit economics level on the front end is insanely important. And then 2, the biggest thing that you can do is discuss and map out what your co-sell process is going to look like, right? It's all, everyone always worries about what happens and what are we going to do to get opportunities? The real trouble starts once you have an opportunity. How do you make sure that everybody does the right thing in that co-sell motion? Because you have 2 sellers, and if you're a salesperson, you're naturally trying to dominate, right? Or you're naturally dominant. Even if you are, not outgoing or whatever it might be, you still have your own process that you like to follow because it's predictable. You're creating the reactions that you want to, and then you add somebody else in that mix. Man, I would say to my younger self, make sure you figure that out early. Make sure you figure it out early and get clear. You can't get clear enough on it.
That's a brilliant piece of advice there. Said I like it was very clear and clear and succinct. So like I said, brilliant bit of advice there. I was going to say next thing also, in terms of, again, I'm not sure whether in your current role or maybe in previous sort of businesses as well, whether it you've managed teams or you've had people obviously that you've worked around. One of the things we obviously talk about, to really have a successful sort of company, you need good people, you need good culture and high performing teams and that sort of respect. So just, again, your experience, what sort of, would you say any tips that you have around, having the sort of consistent, high performing teams and, cultures of where people want to, they want to be at the job, they want to work and, do what they can.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it comes down to mission first, right? So if the mission's right and it's something that they can believe in, they can get behind it. Then it's just about, because that's bigger than yourself as an organizational leader or as a founder. Yeah. And then if you can give them the pathway to it, not necessarily the path, but a directional pathway that they can operate in and make decisions on their own to really nail down that path. Yeah. I think that's key. And also enablement. Like I see this right now with a whole bunch of partnership teams where everyone's clamoring to try to just justify their own existence. And some people are like, hey, you know what? You've got to be the fastest pathway to market or route to market financially. So your CRO gets it. And, it's unfortunate that some folks believe that. I was a CRO who said that actually 2 days ago. Yeah. It's unfortunate because they're just not educated enough. And I think that's part of where teams fail in not getting the support that they need from a partnership perspective to just move lightning fast, fully funded, more resources. Nobody else knows the true value of how you can leverage partnerships to remove the points of friction in a go-to-market that's only direct or only inbound or PLG or any of those, any amalgamation of those go-to-market routes. Yep. I think partnerships has a way of doing that. So to your point or to your question, if there was more education around what partnerships can offer, I think you'd see a lot more high-performing partnership teams. Right?
Yeah. No. Again, I think I agree. I think one of the things we say as well, like partnerships as well for a lot of businesses is still quite a new thing. So again, I think it's people obviously learning. I mean, especially with the way the world has changed over the last few years, obviously with COVID, that kind of stuff, things are just, sort of completely different in terms of how we work with each other. And obviously a lot of, especially around partnerships, there's lots of new types of teams and stuff being built. I mean, just, like I work in a customer success team, those customer success was, not really the term you heard, sort of a few years ago. Now it's become, it's just become like something it's quite normal for a lot of SaaS companies. So, and I think, the mission statement, 100%, you're having something that everybody understands, this is the goal we're trying to achieve, get people to believe in that. And, that's you're off to a good start. Let's put it that way.
Yep. For sure.
That's really good. So, another question. So what do, in terms of, we'll just obviously touch a little bit there in terms of what do you sort of think, the future sort of holds for the business in general, or more specifically, maybe obviously with Ampfactor in terms of like how you're going to go creating partnerships. What, if anything, do you think that you'll be trying to do maybe like a bit differently, to like what your current routines are now? So any ideas on that?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's a lot of teams are making these same decisions today about what do they think the customers value, right? In terms of how you get to market and what do you invest in? Yeah. Right. I feel like we're going to invest in standing for values that our partner marketing and partnership teams can align with, but also speaking a language that CROs, VPs, or heads of demand also understand. Yeah. Right. We want to do a bunch of creator-led content. We want to invest in communities where our folks are learning in and add value there. For free, obviously, and then consumable thought leadership. One of the big things that we're going to do to grow this year is we went from offering massive ABM campaigns to very, very small bite campaigns that tell a joint value proposition or joint a better together story, right, for like 4 months. And so, which is against how we started, right? Again, we started enterprise, we sold 12 or 24 month contracts, and it was subscription, not campaign-based stuff. But that's what teams need today, right? And it's like, it's not about what I want to sell. It's about what's going to help them make progress. And for us, that's one of the way we're trying to meet them where they are and say, well, look, we know times are tight and everyone's got to do more with less, no matter how insulting that is. Right. Not that you weren't trying to do a good job, but now we need you to try to do a good job with less, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. No. Like I said, that makes a lot of sense. I think, said this, investment and, trying those different types of, avenues. I think it's always, good to, especially try and, mix things up, doing things obviously a little bit sort of, differently, try different things.
I want to just announce one thing. There's actually two things that we're going to do to grow specifically. One is we're launching a show called the Better Together Breakdown, and we are going through and analyzing partnerships from a digital perspective.
Okay.
And looking at how they've been productized. And we're going to do that by, say, looking at two competitors, right, at the exact same time. And it's just about creating content. We've created a 13-dimension breakdown where we look at what should a Better Together story look like? Nice. What do really good ones look like? And what do we think is missing out of this one that we're talking about today?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people haven't really seen that done before. I think it's a new type of content.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're trying to focus on is we're going to be launching this event called Partner Palooza. And we got DJ Umami, who has done a bunch of work with Nike and other folks to come in and do all the hype music and the reels and stuff like that. And in this event, we're actually going to be giving away campaign dollars in exchange for you mapping accounts and doing the things that we want you to do along the process. But the whole premise is that if you're a company that wants to show up at this event, you'd pay $7,000, and we'd go out and recruit your top 3 partners and give conversations at those with those heads of partnership for those 3 using dark social. It's kind of like breaking our whole thing is like we want to ruin the old way of doing marketing.
Yeah. Okay. A bit of disruption.
So we want to try to do this whole thing with a couple hundred companies, run no ads and only use influencer marketing at the nano level and dark social. Wow. To get it done. So it's a test, and it's like a risk-free test where if we don't create the meetings, you get 100% of your money back. Right. Which is kind of unique in the marketing space. So
yeah. No, 100%. Well, no, it sounds like a plan. Obviously, good luck with that. I mean, the thing is, like I said, if you that is unique. If it doesn't work out, you get your money back. It's like a no-brainer, really. So where you sign up, basically.
Right.
No, that's amazing. Thoughts that just one last question we like to do, just a little bit. It's a little bit of fun. We just like to obviously guests that come on. Obviously you've worked with lots of probably lots of different businesses. You've obviously done a lot of sort of experience in your time. If there is there any particular a partnership, or it can even be like a particular person or a particular company or business, or someone that or some business that you would love to have a particular partnership with, either with Ampfactor or through, like I said, other things that you're doing. Anyone in particular?
There's a lot. There's just so much opportunity out there, and I'm the only one. I think in my space, there's a ton of other partner marketing agencies, right? Yeah. Agencies that do partner marketing, but they also do a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Or they only work in channel, or they only work in enablement. So from a partnership perspective, I feel like almost any ABM technology would be a great partner for us.
Hey, nice.
For sure.
Yep.
And then I think any venture capital portfolio would be a great partner for us. I think there's a whole lot of unturned stones. Like take Insight Partners, for instance. Yep. They have so many portfolio companies, 500, and I'm not sure that they've done a programmatic account mapping exercise to find out how much money there is just in referrals between the portfolio companies. So I'm interested in exploring that and doing a beta test and figuring out what that is, and then seeing what that looks like.
No, that's amazing. Like I said, we can't obviously promise it. We'll do our best. Give it a little shout out when we when we go live. The podcast. But but as I said, we'll do our best. Listen, it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you. Time just flown by. So really appreciate you just coming on, giving us your experiences. And so we really appreciate it here at Finder. So just thank you very much.
Absolutely, Carl. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. All right. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need-to-knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.